Well, now a completely new style of news programme. An up-to-the-minute analytical look at today's world events, presented by Peter Sissons, Trevor McDonald and Sarah Hogg. You're watching Channel 4. The time now is exactly 7 o'clock.
Mrs. Thatcher plans her biggest ever public spending squeeze. America will vote against Britain in the UN vote on the Falklands. Mr. Scargill's allegations of pit closures put the coal board on the defensive. Hello and welcome to ITN's Channel 4 News. Tonight, Mrs. Thatcher's tightest squeeze yet on public spending. It'll happen next year, despite the recession. Sarah Hogg tells what ministers decided at today's cabinet meeting. Also, President Reagan at midterm. Godfrey Hodgson reports from Washington as America, 10% unemployed, passes judgment. Trevor McDonald hears from the White House Chief of Staff that he thinks the president will seek a second term in '84. At the United Nations, America decides to back a resolution calling for new negotiations between Britain and Argentina over the Falklands. At home, the miners vote against a strike, but keep the coal board on the defensive over pit closures. The Conciliation Service, ACAS, calls in the big health service unions to explore the possibilities of breaking that particular deadlock. And from our arts reporter, we've news after some unprecedented detective work of a unique Puccini premiere. But we begin with arguably the year's most important cabinet meeting and what it decided. Ministers met this morning and agreed surprisingly quickly on what adds up to the biggest squeeze yet on public spending. It was the culmination of 5 months horse trading between the Treasury and spending departments like health, education and defence. The total figure for public spending in 1983-84 should be £121 billion, or £2,000 for every man, woman and child. But it's not as much as it sounds. Here's Sarah Hogg.
Compared to the furious battles of the previous 3 years, this morning's decision was bloodless. Yet it boosts public spending by only 5 to 6%, and that's the smallest increase for 6 years. What's more, all of that increase from £115 billion to £121 billion may be absorbed by price increases.
Sarah Hogg. A reminder now of the main news from us tonight. Mrs. Thatcher and her ministers have met in Cabinet and agreed on their toughest squeeze on public spending yet for 1983-84. At the UN, the United States has decided to vote with Argentina and other South American states calling for renewed negotiations between Britain and Argentina over the Falklands. The miners' ballot went against their leadership's call for industrial action, so they accept pay rises of between 8 and 9%. But the row over pit closures goes on. There could be another ballot on that. Next from ITN, the news at 10 on ITV. And we've just been joined by the familiar presence of Martin Lewis.
Fresh talks on the health workers' dispute are still going on. We'll bring you the latest on that. We expect the first computer predictions on the results of the American elections. We'll tell you what the critics think of this, Britain's brand new television channel. We join the Princess of Wales at the Royal School for the Blind. And we have the final score in Liverpool's European Cup tie, along with all tonight's other soccer results. Plus, of course, any other new developments in the day's news at 10 on News at 10.
But this is Channel 4. Tomorrow we'll be back with the government's plans for what could be election year as outlined at the opening of Parliament. And how well has President Reagan come out of his midterm elections? You've been watching Channel 4 News from ITN.